Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Aniagolu. Now, if you've been following climate change developments around the world, you'll know that environmental activists have been key to pushing for change, snapping at the heels of world leaders to try to get them to do more. Many have expressed anger over what they consider to be the slow pace of action to curb climate change. Campaigners from several countries have been marching on the opposite bank of the River Clyde in Glasgow, where the UN Climate Change Summit is being held, holding banners with slogans such as "We are watching you." Now, one such climate activist is my next guest, Grant Holton, who is a founder of Sustainavistas. He walked 450 kilometers from Holland to Scotland to draw attention to COP26, so he's clearly very serious indeed about global warming and doing something about it. For all this, I'm joined now from Glasgow by the man we're talking about a moment ago, the climate activist Grant Holton, founder of Sustainavistas, an organization committed to generating sustainable impact. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, and apologies there. I'm told you're Dutch, not English or British, because I did say that you were British. Your name sounded British, Grant Holton, but you are Dutch.
Yeah. Well, I'm in a mixture. So we have ancestors from Scotland and from England, but I was born and bred in South Africa, and 30 years ago I moved to Holland, where I've now settled, and we've based Sustainavistas as a European global initiative out of the Netherlands, and that's why we were part of this Netherlands group agenda, and the Climate Mile March. Trying to bring attention to what's happening in the world, and Sustainavistas has also a dual focus that we actually Sustainavistas came out of during the COVID pandemic. A bunch of 450 Cambridge trained sustainability professionals are meet and planning to help business transition, but like you said in the beginning, it's moving too slowly, and so I think that we want to, through education, through help companies and move it quicker to reduce the use of all the resources, and we want them to try and do it now, right? Accelerate the process.
Right. Well, I was hoping to get to all that in a moment, but I'm glad you kind of set out your stall there. Just first of all, tell us why you walked 450 kilometers from Holland to Scotland. I mean, what was the point of it?
Well, Agenda is one of the companies that actually arranged and hosted the walk, the Climate Miles, and they were one of the original climate marches to the Paris Agreement. And Agenda also was very successful in suing the Dutch government to actually hold them accountable for what was actually agreed in Paris. But so my colleagues who started the walk left 24 days ago from the Netherlands, and walked across the Netherlands and to Rotterdam for 20 days in the Netherlands. A few thousand people joined to celebrate this, and then the last 4 days they caught the train from London up to Edinburgh and walked 4 days from Edinburgh to Glasgow. And I just joined them on the last day. But I think what was interesting about that, Charles, is that it was a whole range of people. They're basically doing this. Why did we walk, and why do we actually try and bring attention? Is the fact that we at COP, we know that the Earth is not going. In Paris, we agreed a plan to try and keep the global warming under 1.5. We now know that it's probably going to be between 2.2 and 2.7 degrees, and still to keep the Earth livable. So, in the last 6 years, emissions are still growing, and still the politicians talk, and so through a whole collaboration, and this is what's so great about this activism. I mean, you've got some colleagues, but we actually at Sustainavistas a little bit more formal. We actually try to work with businesses because we feel that they are actually the key. Because at COP, as a small organization, resource organization, the politicians move very slowly, and we have the youth and the real activists are really protesting. But we actually at Sustainavistas are actually trying to help companies and in this transition, and we do think that the crisis is showing that we need to accelerate the process of actually reducing the resource use, alternative ways of actually sinking carbon, offsetting, absorbing the carbon, and the other area which I think is not really getting a lot of attention at COP is the fact that we believe we have to change the business model. So Boris Johnson this week has said, right, the UK is going to as the linear and the fossil fuel economy of the UK the last 150 years is going to be changed to a renewable energy, a complex economy. But we believe that that's not going to happen just overnight, and we've really waited too long. And yeah, we need to move. We really need to move a lot quicker. And like I said before, we feel that the social growth and not actually the old hockey stick and profit before people. So some of the principles that we at Sustainable Business, we follow the drawdown project. Solutions are there. They companies, people, biodiversity needs to, and social growth can actually really help a lot more. For example, we know that.
Okay, well, you've said a lot of things there, Grant, and I want to kind of pick things systematically in the little time that we've got left. What's your sense of how things are going in Glasgow? On day 3, they've struck a deal to end deforestation by 2030, and are also announcing an agreement on methane gas. I mean, does that signal significant progress to you?
It does. I mean, we are now starting to get out to the nitty-gritty and fill in the gaps that are missing from COP in 2015. So we still need to fill in those gaps. I mean, deforestation by 2030, is Brazil, without Brazil and the Amazon, and is that going to have any teeth to it? I mean, it is a commitment, and we welcome those steps. But yeah, I mean, we have to see what each country is going to be doing in the tropical forest areas, and how soon they're going to stop tearing down the forest, and how soon are they going to start regenerating those ecosystems. So I think that's the other side which we really would like to see, is people looking at solutions that we don't have to wait for the politicians and the countries to start doing by 2030. We can actually start today and tomorrow. There's so much we can do right now. I mean, for example, one of the projects we have is More Trees Now, Meer Bome Punt Nu, grassroots planting 1.5 million trees in the Netherlands this winter. You know, in Europe we know what we need to do. We need to plant trees. We need to absorb carbon. One of the things that India is going to be carbon neutral by 2070. What about all the carbon that's still going to be thrown up between now and 2070? I mean, who's going to take that out of the air and out of the system? You know? So,
right. So, I mean, what have you been doing in Glasgow then, and what is it that will emerge from COP26 that will make you feel that something big has actually been achieved there, beyond all the other things you're talking about?
I think when we actually get an agreement that it's very complex, and that the people and companies and NGOs and governments all need to work together. I still think that there's a lot of distance between, and there's a lot of rhetoric and feeling that it's not happening quick enough. We're still postponing, we're still hiding the fossil fuel industries, the sugar industries, the processed food industries. The fact we're still cutting down forests today to provide meat and all these other kinds of things. You know, there's a lot of business as usual recovery from COVID and the pandemic, whereas it's a huge opportunity to transform and actually have these renewable and these new kind of industries, a new approach. And at the same time, if you look at Kate Raworth's donut economy,
right,
I think that people aren't the people need to be the center of it.
Okay.
Need to be the community and people.
Grant, I want to thank you very much indeed. Grant Holton there is a climate activist, and he was talking to me from Glasgow, Scotland.